Boston. How's your con been going so far?
It's good, man. It's busy. There was a lot of traffic getting here. I'm sorry I was late.
You're here now. That's what matters. Although sometimes you wish you actually could just be swinging through the city using grappling hooks and batons. It would make things a little bit easier, I guess. Well, of course, hey, Defenders is coming up August 18th. That's exciting. Pretty cool, right? How many of you guys out there, East Coast, I believe it drops at 3 a.m. Who's starting Netflix like right away, watching it all the way through?
It's 8 episodes, so it's totally bingeable, right?
Yeah.
Some of you guys I know do the full 13, so.
It's like when Boston has a rash of people calling in sick on that Friday, it's all your fault, Charlie. Well, okay, I mean, I know there's a lot we cannot say about the Defenders because we want to see it when it drops all 8 hours at once. But one thing I'm wondering about is it picks up 6 months later. Well, at the end of Daredevil season 2, Matt Murdock says to Karen Page, "Hey, I'm Daredevil." And then 6 months later, there's a conversation in between there that I want to hear from.
Yeah.
Like, what's the immediate next thing that Karen said? Like, excuse me?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's because with the Defenders, obviously, we're trying to bring 4 worlds together in a very quick amount of time. A lot of the personal relationships from the individual shows, those conversations are going to have to be put on hold a little bit for the Defenders. So there's nods to that stuff, but when we eventually do Daredevil season 3, maybe we'll reinvestigate that conversation more thoroughly.
Right. Well, your character, Matt Murdock, even though he has these friends of Foggy and Karen, like, he's sort of a solitary character, and do you think as much as you can say that he sees sort of these Defenders as other sort of lone wolf types that he might have something in common with?
I think eventually, yeah. I think all 4 of these Defenders, maybe with the exception of Iron Fist, they all think of themselves as lone wolves. And what's interesting for me about the Defenders, am I shouting? It feels like I'm shouting. What was always interesting for me about the idea of the Defenders is that you have four characters who essentially have no interest in working as a team. They all want to just do their own thing. And so the challenge for the writers was how do you get these 4 people in a room, and then how do you make them stay there? And a lot of the most interesting scenes in the show, I think, are when all 4 of us are together for the first time and figuring out, what the relationships are, what the dynamics are. And obviously, there's a lot of jokes because Daredevil has a suit and Jessica Jones finds that's fine. But that's the nitty-gritty of it, I think, is the relationships between these 4 characters.
Yeah. It's part of the appeal of playing Matt that this character, essentially when he's not wearing the mask and he's not fighting on the streets, even though he's a lawyer, he's also living a little bit of a lie because he's holding back on those senses, and then when he's being Daredevil, he's able to really let go. He's able to really be himself.
Yeah.
Is there a component of Daredevil is the real him?
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things about this character is, as you say, is that Matt Murdock really is the lie. In some ways, in other ways, I think who Matt believes himself to be in his heart, the kind of character, the kind of person that he wants to be when he grows up, is probably closer to Matt Murdock and the way Matt Murdock thinks about things. But I think he's tormented by this idea that when he walks around in his daily life as a visually impaired lawyer, he's fooling the world, and that doesn't sit easily with him, particularly because he's a man of faith. He's a man of honesty
and a man of hope. Even with Elektra, it seems like there's that constant wellspring of hope that she she can come around, not even necessarily with the Defenders, but with Daredevil season 2, that he can kind of teach her the ways to be
Yeah, but it's a funny type of hope. I think Karen Page has real hope. I think Matt has faith, but it's also tinged with. Sorry, I'm completely ignoring this. It's tinged with kind of a pessimism as well. You know, he believes in the fundamental goodness of people, but he also believes in the fundamental evil of people at the same time. And that is one of the wonderful things about this character, about Matt Murdock, is he's kind of a walking contradiction in so many areas of his life. You know, he's a guy who believes in law and order and the justice system, and yet he takes the law into his own hands. He believes in God and God's will, God's universe, and he kind of plays God as well. And as you said, you know, as we talked about, he's kind of this, you know, man of faith who has no faith in humanity at the same time. Sometimes.
Well, let's throw it to an audience question right here. Hi, how are you?
Hi Charlie,
Hey man,
thank you so much for being here.
thanks for having me.
Just like Robert Downey Jr. is for Iron Man, I believe you are for Daredevil. Amazing show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
So my question to you is, what was the most challenging part for you while playing Daredevil?
You know, the thing that has remained the most challenging thing for me is the blindness. Playing someone who's visually impaired. Technically, it's just very tricky on film to do that. I kind of have to adapt what I do based on what the shot is, based on how the camera's set up. And then there's also, you know, we film a TV show, we film, you know, a 1-hour episode in eight or 9 days. That's, you know, movies, 2-hour movies, 3 to 5 months. And we do effectively half a movie every week. And so the schedule is crazy. And one of the elements of Matt is that when he's Daredevil, or when he's with someone who knows about his abilities, he never has to pretend to be blind, right? So he never has to look at something to pick it up. Me, as the actor, I do have to look at something to pick it up, you know? And so we waste a lot of time.
How do you manage that?
We just do it as many times as we have to until we get it right. You know? There was a scene, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a scene in the first series, which was something that I actually added, I wanted to do. It's a scene in episode 4 where Claire Temple chucks my shirt at me from behind, and I grab it midair without looking at it. And I wanted to do that as like a really cool character trait, I wanted to include it. It was a nightmare. We had to have someone off stage who would do a countdown. So she'd get ready to throw it, and there'd be this guy going, 3, 2, 1, now. Sorry. We had to do it like 15 times. And I felt really bad because I'd only just met Rosario Dawson. And like I was taking hours to do this one little moment, you know. But it's cool. It worked out really cool.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the pressure to be a superhero is big because millions of people love this character and there's decades of legacy attached to it. But when you're playing a blind person, that pressure is even greater.
Yeah, you know, one of the great things about this character is he appeals tremendously to people who have grown up with physical disabilities. You know, he's one of the few superheroes who has a disability, and you know, I think it's an element that is very important to get right. You know, one of the wonderful, you know, I'm just an actor. I just auditioned for a role, and I was lucky enough to get the job. But what has come with this role, which is a wonderful byproduct of it, is that I now have an affiliation with the visually impaired community, and that's really cool.
Yeah. Next question. Hi.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi.
So, first of all, I like to say that you are an amazing actor. And second of all, sorry, I wrote it down. But really, how does the great angst meter of life, how does that compare Matt Murdock to Bruce Wayne, even though they're in two very different places?
Could you repeat that for me?
How meter of angst compare Matthew's life to Bruce Wayne?
So how are they? How is Bruce Wayne's angst versus Matt Murdock's angst?
Yeah.
First off, let me just say, I think you need to copyright the great angst meter of life. I think that.
The first thing I thought was like, how high up am I on that meter? There are times where I feel like I'm pretty high up on that meter. You know? Great question, thank you. I don't, look, it's very tricky for me to talk about other superheroes. I really don't know them as well as I do Matt. But instinctively what I would say is, with Matt's anxiety, what's different and interesting about his is a lot of it is related to his faith. He has that original sin Catholicism thing going on, which I think it can be a burden, but it can also be the thing that sets you free. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it kind of, in some way in my head it does. So.
And as he answers that, his meter on the angst meter life is going up right now. Well, I mean, it's interesting though, because a writer who contributed, had such a seminal run on Daredevil, Frank Miller, also contributed such a classic voice to Batman. So in a way, he was tapping into that angst for both. So.
Yeah. And also, my boss and dear friend Jeff Lowe, who did one of my favorite Daredevil series, Daredevil Yellow. He did an amazing Batman series. I think Batman Blue as well. Yeah. Cool. That voice is obviously quite similar. Thank you.
Thank you. Remember, copyright, great angst meter of life. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, what's up, DD?
So I've been wearing this mask all day, and it's very hard to see. So I wanted to
try 3 years, love.
So I was wondering, how do you do that? So in the first season, your mask looks extremely thick, and then your later costume, the eyes look very hard to see through. So I mean, you have to pretend to be blind as Matt Murdock, but I feel like you're actually blind as Daredevil.
Yes, it's tricky. The material, I don't know if it's the same as what you have on, but you can see through it a little bit. The problem is, when we tested it on a Tuesday morning, and they put this thing on me and they were like, how is it, can you see? And I was like, oh man, yeah, it's great, I can totally see. And then of course the first action sequence, and every action sequence takes place at night. And so that was slightly more tricky. The eyes, again, the red eyes are fine until you start sweating, and then you can't see anything. So we have a version where we can take the eyes out, and then I think digitally they put them back in. And you see the producers start sweating because that's just so much money. But there's safety as well. You have to do that stuff. You figure this stuff out. The thing that I always found funny about the first season of DD is, there's this guy going around with this black mask, and none of the characters in the show were ever how does this guy see? He would just get to being referred to as the man in black or the man in the black mask, and no one was like, yeah, but how does he see everything?
I've had several people ask me, how do you see? So I'm like, that would make much more sense for the characters to ask you that, because it's way bigger what you have.
I mean, look, I have accidentally punched a few of the stunt doubles, but it's not my fault.
Right. Thank you very much. Hi there.
How's it going?
What's up, man?
So my question is, I want to know what kind of martial arts did you have to learn for this role?
So, a lot. But it's so overwhelming that I don't learn the names. Because that's just the thing, it's another aspect, you know what I mean? The thing that I like about Matt Murdock, in our show at least, is that he kind of has dabbled in a load of different martial arts. And I think of him more like a street brawler who can just adapt in terms of his style and his technique to the audience that he's fighting, right? So I know that there's elements of Muay Thai in there. I know there's some Kung Fu and Taekwondo. And on the day, they'll be like, the stunt team will be like, oh, this is a cool little Muay Thai move, or this is a cool whatever move. And I'm like, yeah, great, just show me how to do it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, that could be a fun game if you know your martial arts. It's like to like try and identify it. And let me know when you figure it out.
I will. Thank you.
I'm curious a little bit about the dynamics of your Defenders cast. I mean, not so much, again, I don't want to hear spoilers, but when you first come together and you've got, you know, Finn, Kristen, Mike all together, was there an immediate connection? Did you guys kind of have to feel each other out a little bit and settle into sort of your different roles within that dynamic?
You know, it was, you probably hear people say this all the time, but it was one of those things where we all obviously knew each other a little bit. Like Mike and Kristen knew each other very well, they'd worked together. And I'd seen Kristen and Mike in the corridors, because we were filming shows at the same time and stuff. So, and we knew we were going to do this show, so we were like excited to work together. And it was one of those things where we all came together and we just really hit it off, man. I really love those three guys, and we had so much fun making this show. And you know, the Defenders is going to be a bit different from the individual shows. It's a little bit more lighthearted. It's a little more fun. I think it has to be that way by the nature of these four characters coming together. And we really, truly had a great time doing it. A quick story for you, which is kind of fun. One of the first scenes we have together, not the first scene, but one of them, was it takes place in a Chinese restaurant. And I was like, so scared even talking about this show. Just know I'm going to say something.
Don't worry, they always kill the moderator first.
Yeah.
So if you see me proud, stop.
So we were doing this scene in this thing, and it was lunchtime, and we decided to go and have lunch together at a local restaurant, and kind of like hang out and get to know each other. So we went to this sushi place around the corner from the set, and then as we paid the check, and as we were leaving, we were all in costume as well because we were shooting, right? And as we were leaving, it was late, so there was no one really in the restaurant, it was no big deal. But as we were leaving, Mike walked out first. And as he walked out, there was a guy who was trying to come in, and as Mike walked out, he went, "Oh, no way." And then Mike walked out, and then Kristen walked out, and he was like, "Come on." and then I walked out, and he was like, "Oh." And then finally Finn walked out, and he just kind of made this weird little noise that wasn't even a word, and it was so sweet because he was so overwhelmed. It was like seeing us all one after the other was like accumulative to him. And I think he wanted to take a photo, but he didn't have the words at the time.
You should have just been like, "It's okay to go back in now." Hi there.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I just noticed while watching the show, whenever Matt gets anxious, he always seems to fidget with something, his cane, his sweater, his hands, and I was wondering if...
Tie.
Yeah, the tie. If that was like a character decision you made in advance or something that kind of occurred organically as you played the character.
You know, I don't know. I didn't consciously make that choice, but when playing someone who's visually impaired, sometimes I worry that, it's harder to read certain expressions and emotions. So I wanted certain things to come out of Matt's body in a way that was a little bit more evident, in case there wasn't anything going on. Especially when I have the mask on, there's only so much you can do with the chin. Obviously you don't want to ever overact. You always want to underplay everything. You want it to feel subtle and nuanced and interesting. But I do think you do want to feel this man's. You want to be able to place his level on the anxiety meter of life, which is something that I say to myself occasionally. It's a phrase I coined. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the tie is a good one, the cane is a good one, and it's also very comic booky. In the comic books, they'll often see him grab. There'll just be a panel of Matt's fist grabbing something, and it's kind of an homage to the comics. Thank you. Great question.
Thank you. Just sort of on a separate note, I mentioned this at the top. You just celebrated 10 years since Stardust came out. Congratulations. And for
most of you have no idea what that is, right?
Well, I mean, this is a Neil Gaiman crowd, I would guess, right? You guys like I mean, for a movie that, it didn't open big, it didn't perform commercially great, it has a legacy, and it lasts, and that lasting legacy, I think, is what matters more.
And in many ways, that's kind of the perfect world, because if Stardust had come out, it's a very sweet movie. It's like one of the movies that I'm excited for my children to see, But if it had come out and made a huge amount of money, I probably would be doing Stardust 5 right now, and it's really lovely that didn't happen, and we just have that one little moment in time. It was cool.
Well, why? Why do you think that movie has such an enduring legacy? Why do people still remember it? That's the short answer, because it's good, but
I think it's, when you get a fairy tale right, there's very few things that capture the imagination as much as a really great fairy tale. The other thing about Stardust, which was one of the main goals the director had when he cast me, the thing he talked about was he just had his second kid. So he had 2 children under 4 or under 5. And he said that he was so sick of watching movies that they liked that he hated, that he was bored in or slept through. And he said, I really want to make a really great kids film that adults enjoy. And I think that's one thing that he achieved really well with that film. It's like, I get people of all ages and generations. I get so many, not anymore because it's 10 years ago, but when the movie came out, I used to get so many like 30, 40-year-old men drunk in like bars and pubs who'd like come up to me and be like, man, I was dragged to that movie and I loved it.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Okay, so this is a very interesting question, fun fact, but anyway, when researching for the character of Daredevil, did you ever stumble upon the fact that there's actually a connection between Daredevil and the Ninja Turtles? Because in the original Ninja Turtle comic, there's a scene where a boy, we assume is Matt Murdock, saves a blind old man from crossing the street, kind of like Daredevil, and the ooze that presumably hits Matt goes down to the sewers and creates the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. So any of you guys didn't know that? Very cool fact. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is the guys who created the Ninja Turtles are huge Daredevil fans. And as this gentleman just said, the idea being that the chemicals that blinded Matt Murdock then went into the sewer and they created the Ninja Turtles, which is why you have the foot instead of the hand.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, and it's why you have twig instead of stick.
Splinter, actually.
Splinter, there you go. That sounded so good, right? Until I said that.
You were good.
I grew up on the Ninja Turtles. That was my thing, so.
Okay, I kind of expected that.
Cool. Thank you.
Nice fun fact.
You were almost there. You were like, just didn't stick the landing. Hi.
Actors in Marvel. I'm very excited for this weekend because Defender's coming out and it's my birthday.
Nice. On the 18th? On the 18th?
Yeah, turning 27.
Nice.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We made it for you. Happy birthday.
So, my question is more of a fitness question because we've seen a lot of actors go through a lot of strict diets and fitness, like Hugh Jackman. I believe Michael got 20 pounds of muscles for Luke Cage. So my question is, what's your go-to health meal and exercise?
This has been a whole new area for me. I was never really into fitness. before before this job. I'm not necessarily into it now. I just kind of have to do it. But I have learned to really appreciate it and enjoy it for what it is. I don't know, man. Rice and chicken. I feel like that's all I'm allowed. You know, I try to eat more fish. And you know, I don't have a lot of time when we're shooting the show, and so I know that some, you know, if you're really take this stuff very seriously, you know, you'll do an hour of cardio and an hour of weightlifting or whatever. I don't have time to do that. Plus, I've also got the martial arts aspect of it, the training. So I like stuff that is kind of, the truth is, I don't know any of the names. I just follow my trainer around, and he's like, pick that up. So I pick it up, and he's like, pick it up 9 more times. But you know, I like to combine the weightlifting with the cardio, so that I feel like I'm, you know, cheating. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Is there any foods that, when you are kind of observing it, that you don't eat, that you kind of miss? Maybe pizza?
You get, I don't know if this is standard, but when you're training, my trainer says abs are in the kitchen. So, like, if you want to have abs, it's what you eat, it's not what you do. You get a cheat day, apparently. You get a day where or a cheat meal. You get 1 meal a week where you get to cheat. So you live for that meal.
What's your cheat meal?
I don't know, burger, pizza,
Yeah.
you know, something like that. Not rice.
Not rice, yeah. Either.
So the fanboy inside of me is hoping that you watched Spider-Man: Homecoming. So this is where my question comes from. How do you see your portrayal of Daredevil interacting with, you know, the lighthearted teenage version of Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man?
I'm gonna jump in on that because none of us know what's happening in the future of anything. So I guarantee you anything this poor guy says is gonna be treated as speculation on the internet. And then we all go nuts. So I'm gonna give him a pass on that question. Okay?
Do you have another question?
Did you grow up with Spider-Man?
You know, the truth is I didn't grow up with very many comics. But of all of them, Spider-Man was my favorite. I don't know why. I remember I lived in an apartment in London, so we had no outdoor space, and as a kid, that's like the worst. And I remember being like 8 or 9 and discovering that if my palms were really sweaty and like hot, I could climb up the inside of a doorway.
Yeah, I used to do that too.
Right. And I do remember thinking, there's a slim chance that I am actually Spider-Man. I'm not 100%, but it's possible.
Yeah.
I never actually tried it on any other regular walls, so I'm still living that dream, maybe.
You have not been disproven. Yeah. I will say this, like what's really cool about the Netflix series, and we saw it to some degree in Spider-Man: Homecoming, partially, but you really feel New York as a character in these series. Was that really encouraging for you when you took the job that, guess what, we are shooting in New York, you know, Matt Murdock, Daredevil is actually going to be in New York City?
Yeah, and I'd recently finished the show in New York. I'd been on Boardwalk Empire then, so I'd really got to know the city. I really liked it, and you know, I think all great TV shows or films, you know, their location is so vital, and if they're done well, the location should feel like the other lead character, because in real life, the things that happen to you as humans, the things that we experience, are so connected to where we are geographically in the world. You know, cities, areas all over the world, they have very distinct feelings and energies, and so I think great stories always rely heavily on the geography being kind of recognized and mentioned and identified.
Yeah, such as a London apartment where you can sticky climb up a wall.
I do.
Thanks, man.
Hi, next question.
Hi.
Hi.
What was your favorite episode of Daredevil and why?
Wow. You know, as an actor, one of my favorite episodes was episode 7 of season 2. What's happening in Matt's life at that point is that he's working on the trial of the century, the trial of Frank Castle, Punisher. But he's going out at night as Matt Murdock, as Daredevil, with a lecturer. And he's basically not sleeping at all. And he's massively overwhelmed. And he's keeping these secrets from Foggy and from Karen. And when I was reading those episodes, 7 and 8, I really was excited to play a man who was burning the candle at both ends, and was like starting to unravel. And Matt Murdock is usually someone who's a very cool customer. He doesn't rush into any decisions really. Matt Murdock, not Daredevil. And he kind of, I think he comes across as very calm and collected a lot of the time. But those were a couple of episodes where you get to see him really like unravel. And as an actor, that was really fun to play. I really wanted to find that part of him where he's trying to hold on to his life as he knows it, but he knows everything he's doing is unraveling. Thanks. Great question.
Thank you. Hello.
Who's your favorite character in Daredevil besides you?
That's a tough question.
Oh man, I don't know if this is great question. I don't know if this is because I'm too involved in the show, but I love Karen Page. You know, I think she's great. I think Deborah Wall is an astonishing actor. And I love that relationship. I find myself rooting for them. I really want them to figure it out. You know what I mean? That's not an easy character to play. The Karen Page character. I think Deborah does an extraordinary role.
Good question. Thank you. Hi.
What's your favorite part about playing Daredevil?
Favorite part? There's a lot of cool stuff, I imagine.
Yeah. You know, I think probably. You know, there are days where it's January in New York and it's 4 a.m. and it's below, you know, -10, and I'm in spandex on a rooftop, and it's pretty miserable. But having said that, I know that the action sequences, being given that opportunity, you know, you could be an actor your entire life and never get to throw a punch or a kick, you know, and that's an area of my job which is it's not guaranteed you ever get to do that. So, and you know, as I get older, I won't get to do it, and I won't want to do it. So I really appreciate having a period of my life where I got to really experiment with that side of my craft as an actor. So I really, as painful as it can be sometimes, I really enjoy that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, hey.
So my sister was a little bit too nervous to come up and ask, but
That old chestnut.
Stardust was one of her favorite movies of all time, and like she was like, so she was wondering, like between Stardust and all of the movies you've done since like Eat Local and Daredevil, what is your favorite role?
Of everything since Stardust.
Yeah.
I think probably, you know, not including Daredevil, obviously. You want me to include Daredevil?
Yeah.
I think Daredevil.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at a Daredevil panel in front of a lot of people. No, you know, this role has changed my life. It's been unbelievable. I didn't even know these things existed until Daredevil. No, it's been, you know, that journey has been something that I will remember for my whole career, So certainly that's at the top of my list. I also loved being on Boardwalk Empire. I had a really good time doing that. That was a really fun character. And actually, it's a cool story. When I first got this job as Daredevil, I went to have lunch with Joe Quesada, and we wanted to just talk about the character. And I'd been auditioning for a few months. It took a lot of auditions to get this job. And we sat down, and he told me a story that he'd been watching Boardwalk Empire, and he'd seen one of my scenes, and he thought then that I'd be great for Matt Murdock. I wish I'd have known that when I was auditioning for months to try and get the job. But it's nice that kind of job led into this one.
So, I just have a question too.
You have so you had the one question from your sister?
One from the sister.
How many other family members have questions?
Yeah.
What suit do you prefer, season 1 or season 2?
The suit.
Yeah, with
Season 1 is way more comfortable. Season 2 is cooler. So I don't know. Take a pick.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hello.
Hi. Can you tell me how would you relate and how would you differ Ben Affleck's Daredevil and your Devil?
I mean, they're two totally different things, and two different actors playing them.
What I'll say is, I happen to really love Ben Affleck's Daredevil. I thought it was great. I think the movie was not good, but I thought his characterization was actually spot on. I really enjoyed it. If you read the Daredevil comics, which some of you probably have, the interpretation of Daredevil differs tremendously over the 60-plus years that people have been writing it. Frank Miller's Daredevil is very different from Stan Lee's and Joe Quesada's. So there are comics that the Daredevil film was very similar to, and then there are comics that our show is very similar to, from a tonal point of view. I don't think either is better or worse, just that ours is better.
That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
It's kind of a funny question because you don't really get people asking what'd you think about this person's Hamlet when you're going to, when you're doing your Hamlet? And it's something unique, I think, with our particular fandom. Because if you get too caught up in what other people did, you can't make it your own performance, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you have to acknowledge that there's very, very many different interpretations of these characters, and your job, my job, is to be as true to the comics and as true to myself as I can be at the same time, And it's really, a lot of it's just luck, It either kind of works out and it seems right and it feels right and you caught the essence of that character, or you did not, and it's kind of, there's no, I don't know. I don't think you can ever blame anyone for that happening. I mean, unless they didn't do the work.
Yeah. All right, we only have time for a couple quick questions, so
let's speed dial something.
Yeah, we'll speed dial.
Hi, my question is: when you were going to become an actor, who inspired you? What actors inspired you?
Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman. These are guys that I grew up watching, and De Niro, Pacino, those guys. Robin Williams. One of my favorite films of all time is Hook. Do you know what I mean? I can watch that movie over and over and over again. So, there you go. Yeah, good question. Thanks.
All right, so let's go through a couple of these. Daredevil, you turned your eyes off, by the way. I know you.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Okay.
Good work.
So, all right, make it real fast, though, okay?
I have a question about your weapons. I know at the end of season 2 you got your billy club from Logan Potter. I made my own props and they are fantastic. Did you actually get to keep them?
Do you get to keep his billy? Well,
okay, here you go. So in the scene that you're referring to, when Melvin Potter at the end of season 2 gives me the proper billy club with the grappling thing, there's a bit where when he first hands it to me, I do this twirly thing, right? Where I flick it around in my hands. So I was practicing that for about a week and a half non-stop. And they lent me, because Marvel are very precious about their props, as you can imagine. So they gave me one of these things to practice with, to take home and practice. And I was practicing the whole time. I really wanted that to be really cool and look really good. I may not have returned that.
And now everyone knows. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think this is going to be our final question, actually. So we'll end it. We'll do one more Daredevil after that, okay? So keep it brief.
Hey.
Hey.
I was wondering if there was any one character from the comics you'd particularly like to see show up in the show.
You know, I can't answer that question, and the reason I can't answer it is because I know what's happening. I know what's coming up, and so anything I say will be misconstrued as coming. I actually, when season 2 was announced, someone said to me, "Who do you want to see turn up?" And I didn't know what was happening, and by chance I said Elektra and Frank Castle.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I had Marvel calling me up saying, "How did you know?" so no speculation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just watch this space. All right, last question.
Hi. So, out of all the Defenders, which one did you enjoy exploring your relationship with the most?
Jessica Jones. Yeah, Kristen Ritter. It was really super fun, and you know, those are two people who. What I like about that relationship is those are two people who have no interest. They don't care if other people like them. They have a very clear, stubborn way of doing things, and they have no people-pleasing attributes. And so what's fun about that is when they first meet each other, they don't really care for each other at all. But I think what they learn is that they actually kind of like each other. They kind of have a good relationship. So that was fun to explore.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on that note, guys.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Please give it up for Charlie Cox.